Most founders lead like heroes, always in the trenches, always solving problems. But that's not how the top 1% do it. I've trained thousands of reps and built $100+ million a year sales org. And here's what I've learned. Top founders don't lead teams, they design them. They think like architects, not coaches. And once you see how they structure and scale their sales teams, you'll never approach leadership the same way again. The first thing you want to consider is this. Think like a psychologist, not a manager. Here's what separates average founders from the top 1%. Average founders are obsessed with what their reps should do. More calls, better follow-ups, tighter closings. But the top 1%, they ask why their reps aren't already doing these things naturally. They think like psychologists. They study what drives their people, what scares them, and what makes them quit. I had one rep who was failing miserably, and I couldn't figure out why. Her numbers were down, her motivation was gone, and no amount of coaching was fixing it. Then I stopped managing and started listening. Turned out, she wasn't driven by money. She was driven by recognition. Once we reframed her targets around being the person others looked up to, everything changed. Within a month, she was outperforming the entire sales team. Top founders design roles around human nature, not job description. They understand that behavior follows belief and that every performance problem has a psychological root. Whenever you're trying to discover someone's psychological driver, what is it they think about and how do they think about it? What's important to them? A very good way to do that, I've done this countless times in the past and it works. You want to draw a T, and on one side of the T, you're asking them to say what it is they want. Sarah, what do you want? List it right here. On another side of the T, Sarah, what are you willing to give up for what you want? Super important. Because they could say they want to travel the world relentlessly, they want to take care of their children, they want to, be a better spouse, they want to do more for ministry, they want to give back, they want to donate, they could have lofty goals. That's amazing, and I'm never going to discount that. But if you're not willing to give up anything, then psychologically we have to curtail this. I want to get this to look realistic. So when they do the T, have no problem challenging them on what it is they're saying they want. They might not want a lot. They might not be willing to give up a lot. They might want to give up a whole lot, and they might want a lot. We also need to decipher if they're giving up way too much. We want to live here, and we want to live here. If we can align the head and the heart, we have a much better shot at getting ourselves up to perform to their goals, to their psychology, to their structure, to their wants and desires. Brings us to point 2. They create winning identities, not just behaviors. Here's another major shift. Most founders try to change what their reps do. The top 1% change how their reps see themselves. They don't say make more calls. They say you're the type of person who always follows through. Huge difference. Identity drives behavior, not the other way around. I once had a rep who'd been coasting for months. I could have just told him to hustle harder. Instead, I said, you strike me as someone who doesn't let your team down. It was one conversation, but it flipped the switch. His output doubled in 2 weeks. Top founders celebrate character traits, not just numbers. Because when someone sees themselves as disciplined, reliable, or resilient, the results follow automatically. Identity can shift performance big time. I've seen this happen on both sides of the spectrum. Pulling aside underperformers and just kind of going back over their why with them. Why is it that you would even be here? Because once you start getting back to the why, the reasons that they believe in themselves, the reason they believe in sales, the reasons they're fighting for, their family, their children, the things that they're looking for, all of a sudden we can realign their performance with the things that they want. Very important. I've also done this with top producers who are doing really well and all of a sudden hit a rough patch. Top producer who's hitting a rough patch and stops believing in themselves wholeheartedly. They start doubting their abilities. I've seen this hundreds of times helping people grow in sales where they start doubting their own abilities. And the reality is there's no room for that. And all they really need in an identity shift is just to be reminded of who they are. As long as we remind them of who they are, what they represent, how much they lead, how much they've led, whose mindset they shifted, how they've controlled sales meeting. Just remind them who they are. And all of a sudden, they snap back because they're never gone. They did the performance. They know how to get back to it. Sometimes they just get lost. So you got to help guide them back. And once you get them on the right track, they know the way home. Point 3, they engineer peer pressure, not apply boss pressure. Now, This one might surprise you. Average founders think they need to be the source of accountability, the one who checks in, calls people out, and keeps everyone on track. Top 1% founders know that kind of pressure doesn't scale, so they engineer peer pressure. They design environments where the team holds each other accountable, where reps compete with their past performance, not against one another. In my org, we used to start every week with a simple meeting. Each rep shared their goals for the week and the one thing they were improving from last week. We called this the bullpen session. Nobody wanted to show up and admit they hadn't followed through. I didn't have to say a word. That meeting created more accountability than any boss ever could. Matter of fact, boss pressure would have killed that meeting. Peer pressure is 10 times stronger than boss pressure when it's designed correctly. If you're building a sales team right now and you want to learn how to design accountability systems that actually scale and become a 1% founder, I've helped dozens of businesses just like yours curtail their system and create real structure for their sales teams while scaling revenue. Click the link in the description to book a free strategy call where we'll map out exactly what your sales team should look like and create real accountability that scales. I got a bonus point for you. The top 1% founders, they lead through questions, not answers. Most managers feel like their job is to tell their reps what went wrong. Top founders ask questions that make their reps discover it themselves. Instead of saying, here's what you did wrong, they ask, what do you think went wrong? It's subtle, but it changes everything. Questions create ownership. Answers create dependency. Once I started asking, how do you think you could have handled this differently? My team began solving problems before I had to. When your people feel like the ideas are theirs, they'll fight to prove them right. Real breakthrough with salespeople is when you ask a thought-provoking question that they have to recite the answer to you. Psychologically, the answer they recite is going through their brains, out of their mouth, and every once in a while it reaches their heart. This creates a powerful shift when this takes place. The best founders don't lead like heroes. They lead like designers. They build systems around human nature, identity, accountability, so the team performs at a high level without constant management. If you want to scale your sales org without burning out, start thinking like an architect, not a coach. So here's the takeaway. Top founders don't work harder, they design smarter. Your sales team doesn't need more pressure or motivation. It needs systems that make great performance automatic. If you're ready to build a sales org that runs without you being in every deal, click the link below and book a call. We'll pinpoint what's breaking your scalability and map out the exact system top 1% founders use to lead at scale.